views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Bronx Buzz. This is BronxNet's program where we talk to writers and editors and journalists and filmmakers and photographers. But we also talk to, hold your breath, it's a very difficult sect of the universe, talk show hosts and people who are producing stuff in the borough of the Bronx. And this evening we're going to start off with an old friend. And I don't say that because of our ages, but because we have been friends and colleagues for many years. And he hosts BronxNet's program, Today's Verdict, and it is none other than David Lesch. David, so nice to have you on the program. How are you?
Gary, it's always a pleasure to see you. And you know, I don't know if your viewers know this, but there really would be no David Lesch at BronxNet. There would be no Bronx Legal before Today's Verdict. Now it's Today's Verdict. There would not be these type of programs if it wasn't for you who gave me the opportunity to be on your show, Bronx Talk AM, and I used to love that in 2004 to 2011. I
can correct that. It actually was like 2000 to 2005. It was a precursor to Open. But go ahead.
But it's where
get that done, and then let's move on.
it's really where I learned to be in front of the camera, and I learned from you and the way you ask questions. And anyway. So I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, and I want to thank you. And thank you for having me today.
That's really very nice. But you have always, I mean, you know, I always think of attorneys who have to stand in front of a courtroom. There is a performance in that. And, you know, you have to be in front of people, communicate sometimes difficult or complicated issues, be coercive when necessary. Just a little background about you. Your family has had a practice in the Bronx for years, for generations, literally.
That's correct. My father set up a law practice in 1965 and started the practice in the Bronx, right by the courthouse, you know, basically as a solo practitioner. And then by 1977, when I was about 10, 11 years old or a little bit earlier, my mother went to law school while I was in elementary school. And then she got her degree at St. John's Law School. And then sure enough, 13 years later, I went back to the same law school, St. John's, same professors, got my degree. I took the bar exam 30 years ago this month or last month.
Congratulations.
And then my brother, he went to GW Law and eventually Wharton Business School. And he has been with me in the law firm really since about 2000. So we're a true family law firm, and we've been here for a long time.
What inspired you and what still inspires you about the law, about being a practitioner, and about, you know, doing what you said? Listen, the whole family has done it, and there's a real service here, and you've served my hometown, our hometown, the borough of the Bronx.
You know, when you grow up in a law family business, these are the things that are really discussed at the dinner table. And you know, you just get immersed in it. Issues and things that come up, they turn out into mini debates. And I also just like the way my father, you know, was respected in the community and portrayed himself. And, you know, when you have somebody in your family that you really look up to and becomes your hero, you kind of want to be like that. And I think that's why I wanted to be an attorney. My mother was doing, you know, well as an attorney herself now by the time I was in high school. You know, it was just a matter of time. And, you know, helping my clients in the Bronx, most of my clients are, are from tough backgrounds. They have not been given a break in a lot of areas of life. And when they come in and I can help them, no matter how it is, whether it's through an accident case, a malpractice case, it could be a contract issue, it could be a guardianship issue, because we do a little of everything. It makes me so happy because they are so appreciative when we help them. And it makes doing what I do for a living very, very rewarding. So whether I'm on trial, I'm in front of a jury, you know, and I'm fighting for the clients, or I'm just negotiating with insurance adjusters to get them money. Whatever it takes, when I have a happy client, I'm happy.
And what is the relationship between what you just described and your motivation for saying, hey, you know what? Well, wait a minute, I have a passion for doing this work. Now I want to do it on television.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because when you're really in a family kind of solo practitioner type of business where it's just your family, when the clients start to trust you, they ask you about every little area of law. You know, I've just been arrested, or they just took my child away, or I think I'm being, harassed at work. I was getting topics from all over the place. And I would do the research just to kind of help them so they knew where to go. I may not be their attorney for this particular area, but I could point them in the right direction. And that was the impetus for me to really reach out to you and to the station, because I knew that I knew enough about different areas of the law that I could teach it, or at least give the updates to your viewers. And then with my show, when I finally would make that transition, I started bringing on the attorneys and the authors and the professors who were experts in that area. So now I didn't have to do the talking, but I would always say to them, listen, if you don't talk, that's fine, I'll talk. But this is for you. This is not where I'm a guest, like on Open or on your show. This is your time to talk. Because I say the viewers have specific questions for you. They want to know what happens when they're pulled over in a DWI. Do they have to talk? Do they have to blow into the breathalyzer? These are questions that they ask me. So now I'm going to ask you. You're the criminal defense attorney. You asked that. And sure enough, that's how I kind of got into it. And as you probably know, I volunteer for the station. I don't get paid. This is what I do because I just enjoy doing it. And it just has grown.
Have you seen results? Has anybody come back to you and said, hey, I saw that on the show. I got stopped, or my landlord did something. And you know what? Because I heard it on the show, I don't mean to put you on the spot. Because I know sometimes we don't get the feedback we'd like. I'm curious if you ever had that sense.
Well, I get emails. I constantly get emails.
Really?
I get emails either personally or through the producers asking me to refer to the attorney who was on. Maybe they didn't catch the number or the email, so I get it to the attorney. Or I've been everywhere from the Javits Center where people have stopped me, they've recognized me, they've asked for certain things. So, and more than that, Gary, this is important. It's social media, and I know you've been very active as well. When you put your shows on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, Reddit, Tumblr, wherever you put it, people see the show, and then they end up contacting you to either be a guest or to find out where they can get some more information about that particular topic. So I have gotten positive feedback from it. And I've had attorneys who've been on the show who've actually said to me, if you know anybody who may want to employ me, and of course, I'm more than happy to send it over to the attorney if I think they're competent in what they do.
One of the things you've been able to do, especially during this particular period of time, is look at broader issues. I mean, I was looking at stuff that you've had. You had COVID-19 in the law. You talked about rent relief and those kinds of things. Talk to me about, kind of broadening what your practice is about and what your expertise is into kind of a larger legal realm. And has it been a challenge? Has it been interesting? I mean, like I do, I'm sure you learn stuff when you do stuff like that.
Well, it's been an absolute challenge. My clients, through the pandemic were calling me about rent issues. They were calling me because, they didn't know what to do and what hospitals to go to and their medical treatments. And, the lawyers that I have on really don't answer these kinds of questions. Really, I needed the representatives on. And so what I did is I transitioned for the last couple of months, having, either a congressman on or having a couple of assemblymen or having a councilwoman, just having different people on, not to so much talk about the law and the legal rights, but more about the community rights. Where can you turn if you have a problem? So yes, I still had a lawyer on who would talk about employment discrimination. They were furloughed. Can they still recover for unemployment? For how long? These types of things. But I also had the representatives on from the community, from the district, who would say, no, you have a right to be able to collect this type of money, put it in writing. So, or if you're having a problem with medical treatment, this is where you go. This is how you get your tests. My office is open to you. So it's something I really never really interviewed representatives. I know you do. So it was just for a limited purpose for me to be able to help my clients during the challenging time, specifically in the Bronx area where I practice. And that's when it just started to morph. And it was, it's not my area of expertise. So there was a big learning curve. It's a lot different asking a representative, a councilwoman or a councilman questions as opposed to an attorney. I know a lot about the law, so I know where they're going. I don't know a lot about legislation, bills, Senate. So that was a learning curve.
The segments that I find most enjoyable when I learn something, when a guest brings something and I learn something. And so for you, that sensation in that case, and believe me, for me, every week I'm I'm finding out stuff. But for you, that must be challenging. I want to ask you also about the transition. Now, both of us, being in a studio, I find on some levels is a little easier because I can manage the conversation, especially if I have more than one people, and this becomes a challenge. I do like to interrupt a little bit, and, the audio kind of gets messed up. On the other hand, you didn't have to come into the studio today to do this, so I'm better able to really get guests that, yeah, sure, I'll sit in my office and do the show. So for you, what has the transition been like? Because who knows how long we're going to do it this way,
right?
The way of the future, who knows? So what's it been like for you?
Well, let me first tell you that this is not my main area of profession. I'm an attorney by trade. So when you say to me, your producer says to me, can you send me some B-roll? Like, I don't understand what that means. So I have to go through my producers to figure out what you're asking for and that kind of thing. So this is all foreign to me. When I go to the studio and I sit down and they mic me up and I look at the prompter and I ask questions and I leave, and then it gets made, it's very easy for me because this is not really what I do. Well, once I have to do this on my own, it's a little different. Now I have to get the lighting set up. We have a little bit of a ring lighting here. I don't know if you realize that. The lighting comes through. I have to make sure the phone is working properly, that you can listen, you can hear me. It's coordinated with the guests. So this was a little bit of a learning curve. I had to purchase some equipment by myself.
I got to tell you, I had to make sure nobody else in the house uses anything that has anything to do with Wi-Fi, because otherwise, maybe I ought to lend you some Bronx books you could stick them up.
Gary, I have a 10-year-old son, and when COVID first hit, he was still, homeschooling. So he would walk in and out to the kitchen, and I would kind of like put the arm up, like,
we're on TV here.
Right. So there are issues like that, but the truth of the matter is, it's been a rewarding situation. I have reached out to a couple people at the station for some tips, maybe some other equipment to use. But you are right; it is easier getting guests.
Yeah.
Because I find that it's very convenient to sit at a chair with a phone on and to talk to somebody for a certain amount of time, and then to go back into the refrigerator and finish your day.
Well, I'll give you two things. Listen, we're going to have to go, but for me, and I've said this before, like I'm in the bedroom, as you say, I got going out, I'm getting a cup of coffee, and then I come in and do the show. I found that I was not preparing as well when I was doing it here. And then I realized, I said, why am I a little flummoxed? It's because, the preparation of putting on the tie, getting in the car, going to the station, greeting the crew, you begin to prepare. So now I find myself forcing myself, an hour before the show to really focus and not just say, well, I'm going to go in the bedroom. And
it's funny. I haven't been doing that so much with the show, but with my court conferences that are online, my virtual conferences, I've been winging it a little too much. And I sometimes realize, hey, wait a second. When you go before the judge in the courtroom, when you have a tie on and a suit on and you go talk to the judge, you're not winging it. You're prepared. Right. And without hard files in my hand, because they're in the office, I tend to just talk about, and I had to take a step back.
Dave, we do got to go. That's one of the limitations of TV is that so it's leschlaw.com for the website, right?
That's correct.
I'm going to tell people, and he knows. And today's verdict, when can they see it? How can they see it?
It's on Wednesdays. It's Wednesday night. It's also shown throughout the week. It's also shown in Manhattan on the MNN, and of course we stream it everywhere. So anytime you want to watch, anytime you have a question, bronxnet.org, and it's a David at leschlaw.com.
And there he is, the great David Lesch on the Bronx Buzz. And we'll take a break. We're going to talk to some filmmakers who have made a really extraordinary film, and they finished second or third in a contest. We'll be right back. Okay, back with you on the Bronx Buzz. And if you were with us, actually the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about the Bronx Film 48 Challenge, in which filmmakers are assigned, like on a Friday afternoon, some concepts, and then they got to go out and 48 hours later turn in a film. It seems like a rather extraordinary concept and something that I frankly can't believe anybody could do. But we had the first place winner last week, and this week we have the second place winners, and that is The Golden Cut. That's the name of the team. Their film was Twin Command. So let's say hello to Hannah Al-Tarmidhi. Nice to have you with us, Hannah.
Hello, nice to be here.
And also Max Wexler. Max was actually in the film. The others are writers. Nice to have you with us, Max.
Thank you. Hello.
And also Sage Higgins, who was one of the writers on the film as well. Hi, Sage. Nice to have you.
Hi, thank you for having us.
So before we even get into the specifics of what I just think is I just love the concept and what I think is great. I don't know, maybe Sage, you can get started. Tell us how you all know each other and what put this Golden Cut together.
So we all went to SUNY New Paltz, which is about an hour and a half from the city. And I've been working with Hannah and Max on other projects. And when you meet a great group of creatives and filmmakers, you just want to keep doing projects over and over again. So that's how we all know each other from school. And the Golden Cut is a group we've just started. I mean, it's a production company, and the group we've just started working together and doing more projects, and it's exciting, especially amidst the pandemic situation.
To be able to do something like this, Hannah, talk to me about other projects that you've done, things that you've worked together on that made it so this was like the next step for you.
We have worked with Sage's company, Pineapple Pals Production, to create a series called Gracie in the Kitchen, if I'm not mistaken, it's called. And it's a very funny satire of a housewife who is bored after her kids have left, empty nest syndrome. And Sage plays the main character, and Max actually plays her husband. And a lot of the members who worked on Golden Cut and who worked on this particular film have also helped out with that particular series, which you can find on Instagram. I think Sage can tell you where to find that.
It's on IGTV, and it's also on YouTube. And yeah, it's been great working on a comedic piece. And then this piece was like a dramedy kind of piece. So it was nice to go into more of a heartfelt, more serious subject matter. So yeah.
Max, let's talk about the 48-hour film challenge. I guess, how did you find out about it, and why did you and the others think this was a pretty good place to, show your wares and try it out? What was compelling about it?
So the three of us have actually prior experience working in these types of competitions. SUNY New Paltz throws one every semester. So I've been involved with that in the past, and I know Hannah and Sage have as well. And then in addition to that, actually one of the organizers of the Bronx Film 48 is a fellow New Paltz alum.
Ah, that's the connection. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you got involved. And now let's see, we'll go back around the room. Max, what were you assigned with? I guess it was a couple of weeks ago at 5 o'clock on a Friday.
Right. So on kind of the outset of the competition, the first things you receive are the name of a character that has to appear. So that was Dr. Linguini.
Dr. Linguini. Yeah.
Or just Linguini.
Linguini.
And then you need a line, a required line, and that's, is it still 2020? And then you are required to set a scene in, I believe, the bathroom.
It had to be a
bathroom-related scene.
All right, so now let's see, Hannah, who came up with this idea? We're going to show a clip, folks, and I thought it was great. It really challenged me. But who came up with the concept? Because all of you were involved in the writing of it, and that for this, listen, the shooting of it, I get all that, but this is a very clever presentation. Who came up with the idea, and how did you come up with that idea? Is there a way to find out? I mean, it came out of the air.
It was definitely a group effort. We were, each team is assigned a genre. We were assigned sci-fi. And with the line, is it 2020? The instinct was to go time travel. So we all immediately went, let's not do that. And we started talking about sci-fi movies that we personally loved, and how a lot of them, you know, had the sort of what defined a sci-fi movie, you know, and how a lot of them had AI, a lot of them had that evolution of technology and human connection, and especially in a pandemic, I think, you know, the element of human connection and distance was something we were all like thinking about and wanted to explore. So we all just sort of started spitballing, and as we discussed it, we would refine certain points, and we ended up with this really interesting and I think touching concept. Sage played a huge part in it. Max gave a lot of great feedback. Sanish, who was our director, was also instrumental in it, in like sort of guiding us towards finally developing this idea.
I want to, now, you know, we're not being fair to our audience because they don't know really what we're talking about. So Sage, I'm going to let you kind of introduce this clip that basically you can tell us what is this, I guess, scientist creates robots. And why don't you take it from there, because we're going to show right at the moment that you actually see the robots come to life. It's crazy. Go ahead.
She's, you know, as many of us who just love working, she was a scientist who was not able to express herself through her work. So she took matters into her own hands and was like, fine, I'll take my ideas and my resources and build these two robots. So the clip you're about to see is when they're emerging and becoming these human-like creatures. And she's just, you know, she's worked so hard, especially alone, and she gets to marvel at her creation.
And here they are. Okay, you know, well, let's watch it, and then I'm going to talk about some of the things in film history and in movies that really relate to exactly what this is about. Okay, so this is the Golden Cut. That's the production company and the group that put it together for the BX Film 48 Challenge. And the clip is from Twin Command. Let's take a look.
Okay, vitals are in motion. That's it. They're done. What the hell? Oh. Yes.
Okay, there you go. Twin Command. You only saw a little bit of it. And so, Max, let's just talk about, ultimately, there are some very big philosophical questions that are addressed in this about this whole movement toward technology, toward robotics. I have people who say to me, you know, one day they're going to be able to literally read your mind. Just talk about what is wrestled with here philosophically. So, Max, that's for you.
I think a big thing we kind of settled on, a big theme, was just the idea of autonomy and how it relates to, you know, being a robot and also just being in control of your own destiny. And so I think it's interesting that we managed to pack that much meaning into something that we did overnight.
Let's see, Hannah, talk about the challenge. Was it a challenge to write it, or was, you know, I know as a writer, sometimes you write something and it almost writes itself. Did you write like everybody did a piece, or did you sit together like in a Zoom call like this? What was the process like?
Well, like I mentioned, it was sort of a group effort. The whole team came together to pitch ideas, but then when it came down to it, Sage and I and Max sat down on a Zoom call and we had a Word document and we just started writing. And this was the first time us three in particular had written something together. And it was really a delightfully streamlined process. It came out very easily. Every time there was sort of a hesitance about dialogue, we just kind of keep trying new things until everyone agreed on something. It was really great working with these guys on writing this script. And it honestly was one of the easiest and most instinctive writing processes I've been part of so far.
This is what I was saying. Sometimes that, like, you know, when you get that muse, I think it was William Wordsworth said that you know, genius is like a thing, and if you can tap into it, it just is a stream. And so you get to that point. So Sage, we're almost out of time. Let's just talk a little bit about what this experience has meant to you and to the group. So like, just talk to me about what the experience meant and then what's next.
I guess for me, because of everything that's been happening, I've been mostly being creative outlets were kind of hard to find within a group because we all couldn't be together working. And this kind of opened me up to working with people, as I have a job where I work, you know, a lot of virtual work, but this type of creative work virtually and being able to mesh with everyone, it went so much better than I thought it would. It was like, as Hannah was saying, I mean, these two are incredible writers. So obviously that made it so much easier, but the experience showed that we can all work together virtually. I mean, I love group camaraderie of being in person, but you can accomplish things, at least writing, and I mean, obviously certain parts of production are in person, but it really opened me up to doing more of these things. And I think next is that we feel like as a group, we work so well together that we can do more projects in this way and really go forward.
But we're all learning new ways of doing things. And I think you folks have really learned, wow, you know, this tool of Zoom or whatever technology you use actually can help in some ways, as difficult as it is. So let's say thank you to Max Wexler. Nice to have you with us, sir. We appreciated it. Hannah Al-Tarmidhi, thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us. And Sage Higgins, congratulations. The people at the BX Film 48 are proud of you. I'm proud of you. We think it's great. We hope to see more and more work. And as you turn out stuff, give us a ring at the Bronx Buzz and we'll shout to the world. If anybody wants to see it, they can go to the BX Film 48 film challenge and then see all the videos. I think it's on YouTube or whatever. And I hope you'll look at this because this is they're all fun, but this is a really fun one. Anyway, thanks folks. Congratulations again to the Golden Cut. Thanks to our first guest, David Lesch. And we'll see you this week on Bronx Talk. We're going to do a very interesting program about teen pregnancy in the Bronx, totally different than what we've done this evening. So good night. See ya.